Nikki Sinclaire, former independent MEP, welcome back to Brussels. Obviously, in the wake of Brexit, there are many things to discuss, but an interesting situation has arisen today, recently. Theresa May has apparently refused the French the right to, or rather has refused to negotiate with the French concerning the placement of immigrants in Calais. Where do you think the continent stands? Where do you think the EU stands at present?
Well, first of all, I welcome the move by Theresa May, who's obviously putting her stall out that negotiations with the European Union will be tough. She said that she wanted Brexit and that she would make a good job of it, and let's hope that she continues this. Look, it's international law that a person who's claiming asylum must seek refuge in the first safe country. And obviously, if they've travelled using the free movement of people across the whole continent, they clearly have not. Are we saying that France is not a safe country? So it's for the French authorities to process these people, and then we'll take it from there. We're still part of the European Union until Brexit actually becomes the reality, but we need to process these in the countries of arrival, and then it's a European Union issue for the European Union to deal with. It is not necessarily an issue for France on its own, or the United Kingdom on its own, but it is not an issue for the United Kingdom on its own, and that's under international law.
So would you say therefore that Theresa May is doing pretty much too soon in terms of the fact that obviously the UK will be leaving the EU, Brexit will occur, but you feel that she still has certain responsibilities that she must adhere to?
Well, it's clear that obviously whilst in the 2-year period where we haven't even invoked Article 50 yet, so there is responsibilities, but it is not a United Kingdom responsibility to process asylum seekers, because the UK is not the first country that they've arrived in. So that is not a UK problem. Yes, we have a responsibility as part of the European Union, but not to process them. That needs to be done at the first point of entry. So at the moment, she's absolutely right. And I think she's probably beginning to play hardball and saying these negotiations, we've heard things, for example, with Deputy German Chancellor who's playing hardball ahead of the German elections, and I think she's throwing a few hardballs back, and I quite welcome that from her.
You yourself voted for Brexit, obviously, you were
Yes.
clearly in favour. At the risk of asking a rather trite question, how do you think it's going?
Well, I did more to vote. I don't know if you're aware that it was my petition that initially got the 100,000 signatures that forced a debate in Parliament, that had the 80 Tory rebels that began the movement for Cameron to promise a referendum. So we did a lot of job. Me and some other MEPs did a huge amount, and some MPs from the Kate Hoey from the Labour Party done a huge movement to get that rolling. So look, it's only a few months. No one said it was going to be easy, but I'm actually quite optimistic. You know, you saw the Americans, Obama changed his mind from the threats during the campaign to the day after, completely changed his mind, talking about a special relationship. We've got trade deals possibly with China, India. It's going to be good. Well, at the end of the day, we are the 5th/6th richest country on the planet. People want to trade with us. Britain, it will be a bumpy ride. I never pretend, as someone who's campaigned for 25 years for Britain's withdrawal from the European Union, not once did I pretend it would be an easy thing to do. But it's a bit like a relationship, a dysfunctional relationship. You stay in that dysfunctional relationship because leaving would be hard to do. No, leave, get the divorce. That'll be bumpy, it'll be expensive, it'll be difficult at times, emotional. But get through the other side and let's move on to a bright future. Look, let the European Union, we need a compromise. We need to kind of work together. Yeah, and let's have a friendly divorce.
You want a friendly divorce, you say. Are you therefore, would you say that you are tying into certain sentiments expressed by, your former leader, though I know you were only there for 6 months, Mr. Nigel Farage believes the EU is dying. Do you?
I think the EU has some fundamental issues that it needs to address. And obviously it had the single currency even before it had any political union, and I think it should have had political union if that's the way its members wanted to go before it embarked on the single currency, and I think that's a fundamental flaw. And I think that the post-Brexit negotiations needs to be sorted out very quickly for the benefit of the European Union, because I believe they need a treaty change which addresses that political union. And then, you know, it's not for them, for a British person to dictate what they should do, but I would advise that they should try to bring people, because I think that's where the biggest failure of this place is. Across Europe, it hasn't brought the peoples of Europe with it. It's dictated to the people of Europe. And as a parting advice from a former member, I would say you need to look at yourself and actually think about how you can bring people of Europe with you on a journey rather than just dictating to them. But they've got some fundamental issues to do with the euro. Greece is an issue that has not gone away, and you've still got Spain and Portugal. Ireland's done a good job of recovery, but it still has, and that's what I would say. I just think that we need to leave, and we need to have a friendly cooperation between ourselves and move forward, because we're still part of Europe. We are European, we're just not part of the European Union, and people mix the two up. They're not the same thing.
As a final note then, Nikki, you'd say that you want the Brexit negotiations to be done as quickly as possible. How soon do you think Theresa May should invoke Article 50, and how soon do you think she will?
Well, I think we should do it by the end of this year, probably by the 1st of January, and I would probably put a date of us leaving on the 1st of January 2019, which would be a very good date in the lead up then to the European elections without the United Kingdom. And bearing in mind on those elections, I would actually call, because the UKIP members here are not renowned for turning up for committees and taking part of the democratic process here. I don't see what they're still doing here. Let's save that taxpayers' money and go back to the old UKIP position pre-1998 of being elected to the positions but not taking the positions up. So I call on every UKIP MEP, including Nigel Farage. He talks about retirement and taking life easy. Well, just not turn up here, stop taking your salaries, stop taking the taxpayers' money, and actually say, arrivederci, au revoir, goodbye European Union, we've done our thing, we're off now to go back to our ordinary lives, which is what they promised to do. UKIP MEPs, all 23 of you, let's see it.